Hi there, everybody, and welcome to the Introduction to DIGGS questions and answer session. My name is Roger Chandler from Kinetics, and today, with the help of Scott Dean from Data Forensics, we're going to try and answer the question, what are the benefits of geotechnical data interchange for DOTs? Scott, thank you for joining me on this question and answer session.
Thanks for having me, Roger.
So, Scott, why don't we kick off, and why don't you give us some of your experiences of working with the US DOTs and exactly what they're doing with their data at the moment?
Sure. So this is what we routinely find when we talk to DOTs and they say, this is our geotechnical data archive. And unfortunately, this is not data. It's paper-based boxes and files. And some of the DOTs have actually joined a more modern approach to this, where they're getting a PDF borehole log, which is still not data. It's better than the paper-based form because it's a bit more modern and you can actually have it more reliably archived. It doesn't necessarily get thrown out. It can be backed up. But it's still, if you want to do anything with this data, you're going to have to re-input it and combine it with any future data. So there's a lot of manual effort that goes into trying to find historical data and then actually combine it with new data. So still not an ideal scenario. So what data interchange allows organizations to do is it allows data producers to optimize their process. And that may mean they want to use one piece of software that is tailored to their specific needs. And it allows consumers of that data to use that data using potentially different software, or it could be the same software. But it's software independent. So for example, with one of the DOTs, Louisiana DOT is this example, they have several different design sections that need to utilize geotechnical data that is produced by their testing lab. And what they're routinely doing is they're re-inputting data into software for pavement design and geotechnical design and pavement management, and into a LIMS to manage it themselves. So they're inputting the same data in at least 4 places, excluding all the other workflow where they've re-input the data many times before already. It also means that then consultants can consume data that the DOT already has without having to re-input it. So you're not going to find a single software package that's going to fit the needs of all consumers, although we would love to sell our software to each of these different groups. Pavement design would have no need for running data forensic software, but they need the data from our software. So the software must communicate data. So Roger, why don't you tell us some of the benefits that the Highways England has seen since they've been a leader in data interchange for the last 30 years or so?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. One of the things that Highways England have done here in the UK for a number of years is really champion and pioneer the use of a data interchange for geotechnical specialists using what we have here in the UK, the AGS data format. And this is one of the diagrams that we use to illustrate exactly the problem that clients have. So here we've got a simple project. We've got one engineer, one drilling crew, one lab, and maybe a regional archive. And most importantly for the DOTs, the client, hence their box is red. So here we've got 5 different ways that data is being communicated between these teams, all the way up to a regional archive and then hopefully back out of a regional archive, back to an engineer, maybe on a later job or a later phase of the job. So we've got 5 reinventions of the same wheel going on here. Now the engineers, the drilling crews and the lab are happy with this because the client's probably paying them on an hourly rate. So the client's getting a really bad deal and the whole industry is being inefficient. So the idea here is when you actually scale that up to multiple projects, and we'll put the client at the top of the tree, again, because we're presenting this from a DOT's point of view, you actually scale that up just with 3 projects, you now get 15 wheels reinvented. And this causes a lot of problems, one of them being that each of those engineering teams delivers something different to the client. So it may be a different database format, it may be a set of Excel spreadsheets, maybe a set of PDF reports, or back to the old paper-based reporting. So the client is getting something different from everybody, and that makes standardization really difficult. One of the things that Highways England did is that they early on put together a web-based archive system that allowed anyone to zoom into any part of England, select any segment of road. Here we've got an illustration of it here. This is a section of road going past Stonehenge. So the circle you see there in the background is Stonehenge. And it's one area of road here in England that we have done a lot of research on to try and get it away from the Stonehenge circle. So there's many phases of site investigation that have been done in where we could move the road, can we put it in a tunnel, all sorts of other things. Now, the beauty of this is that every site investigation that's been done for this project over the last probably 10 years has been stored on this system and can be downloaded in a data format. You'll see there, we can simply click the view and it will download the file. The PDF report is also stored in the system, so it's not a replacement, but it is an added benefit. Now, the beauty of this is it doesn't matter if the user who downloads that data, then the consultant on the job, is working in Wholebase, or they're working in Gint, or they're working in Access Database, or they're just working in Excel. They can take that file format, they can import it in, and they can do whatever they want with it. So as far as Highways England concerned, the main benefits of the electronic data transfer is standardization of deliverables from the consultant to them, and then again from them back to the consultant at a later phase. So we only really get, in the UK for the Highways England, we only get one of the primary benefits. Because they're not doing any of the geotechnical work themselves, any of the laboratory testing themselves, that's all subcontracted out to maintenance agents and to consultants. So in the US, I think there's far more benefits to be had from the data transfer for the DOTs than there are Highways England. For example, Scott, why don't you take us through a standard process that some of the DOTs are going through to generate their data?
Fantastic. So we were hired by Ohio DOT to assess where data interchange fits in with their processes internally, as well as their consultants' workflow. And we interviewed several different consultants, and what we found was that the most efficient consultant was re-inputting subsets of the same data 9.5 to 10 times per project, and the least efficient was re-inputting subsets of the same data 14 or 15 times. And so if you go through these steps, you can see that there's a lot of manual repetitive data entry, whether it's re-inputting the project ID, borehole ID, sample ID, depth, locations, XY coordinates, transcribing that same data multiple times from one format to the other, because it is a manual process and none of the software talks to each other. So you can become significantly more efficient by eliminating nearly all of those steps. So ultimately, you end up with higher quality, more reliable data at a lower cost. So in summary, what data interchange does is it allows DOTs to get data from consultants and ultimately provide that data back to consultants for future projects. So you can use and reuse that data. And that's always a good thing. You can reduce your costs on future site investigations. It's also good for them internally because it allows them, instead of re-inputting subsets of the same data 5 times in 5 different systems for different stakeholders and different divisions, you input your data once and you send data to the other systems, and those other systems consume that data. So you have fewer errors and once again reduce your cost internally. And then consultants, as you saw in that last slide, if they can eliminate 9 or 8 or 10 steps of re-inputting subsets of the same data and use software that actually works for them and communicates data, they can reduce their errors and the associated costs and have more reliable projects.
Thank you very much, Scott. I mean, that looks a pretty conclusive summary and pretty compelling, to be honest. So this is our first Q&A for DIGGS. We hope it generates lots of questions, and we hope we come back for a second series and answer some more questions. So if you've got any questions, please email Scott at sdeaton@dataforensics.net or myself, Roger Chandler, at kinetics.com. Thank you again, Scott, for your help in presenting the answer to this question, and we look forward to seeing everybody for our next DIGGS Q&A session. Thanks very much.